Join me every month for the inspiration to find your finish line. Welcome to Find Your Finish Line, presented by Curad Performance Series, your official IRONMAN medical supplier. I'm Mike Riley, everybody, and we've got a very special guest on today. But this podcast is about you being able to find your finish line, not only at a race or an event, but every day in life. We have to find our finish line on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, every year, in order to move forward. We know that big lesson in life of finishing what you start is what it's all about. Hopefully this podcast can help you get to your next finish line. Let's get started with our very special guest. Derek is a non-Hodgkins lymphoma cancer survivor and heart transplant recipient, and will take you on that journey with this podcast. Plus, he's a 6-time Ironman finisher, but best of all, he's a dad and a husband. Derek, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Mike. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. And you know what? It seems just like yesterday in 2013, you were coming down that finish chute for your very first Ironman in Lake Placid. It goes by quick, doesn't it?
It's a blink, and yeah, it seems like yesterday.
Well, I'm going to come back to that Lake Placid race in a little bit, but everybody, you know, at 30 years old, Derek was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and after the tumor was surgically removed, he had to go through chemo. It was in his intestinal area, so chemotherapy was the only thing he could do. But a few months after that chemo ended, he began having trouble walking, and breathing was difficult. But, you know, before we get for the reasons why, Derek, you weren't exactly in the greatest shape of your life during that time, were you?
No, I was a couch potato. I was overweight, out of shape. You know, I was doing everything I could not to be physically active.
Did you not grow up in sports, or, I mean, you were, somebody was working too much, or what?
Well, yeah, no, I grew up playing soccer. But you know, at the time, right as I was, the tumor was growing inside me, and I was putting all my time and efforts and energies into my career. And I kind of said, well, you know what, you get that mindset when you're that age that you're invincible and you're going to live forever and you don't really need to take care of yourself. And as I look back at the pictures from those times, I mean, I was just inflating. You know, my face was swollen. And then I looked back at some of the pictures of me wearing like a button-down shirt, and the gut, I mean, the buttons were popping on my gut. Little did I know that there was a grapefruit the size of a tumor growing inside me, but there was like fat on top of that, which, you know, made things harder to diagnose.
It's hard for me to picture you like that, because I've known you ever since, obviously, you came through that finish line in 2013, but you've made an amazing, you said chemotherapy saved your life, but unfortunately it killed your heart. Your journey of having that transplant on January 2nd, way back in 2011, I don't have to mention that, you know, you've cheated death a couple times. I probably don't have to mention that you cherish life every day. But what I really want to know, and I'm sure everybody else does too, Derek, what the heck did you learn by this? What's your biggest lesson?
Wow. Biggest lesson. You know what? I did die twice in my journey. And I spent almost a decade lying in bed, not able to breathe, not able to do anything. And during that journey between cancer and heart failure leading up to transplant, and I had everything that I love to do in life taken away from me, where my whole world was kind of confined to the bed that I was in. And, you know, everything that I thought I loved to do that I thought made me who I was taken away, until it was just wondering every night before I went to, you know, close my eyes to go to sleep, if I would wake up the next day and if I would get another shot at another day. And for me, it was an experience that I will never forget. I mean, you talk about closing your eyes, and it was 2013 crossing the finish line at Ironman Lake Placid. But for me, I close my eyes and I'm still confined in that bed. And so for me, it is, I'm 10 years out from my heart transplant right now. And that was January 3rd, right? So January 3rd, 2011 to 2021, got 10 years, another 100 days into 2021. So I'm 3,700 days into living with another human being's heart beating inside my chest. And for me, it's a matter of earning what I've been given and making sure that I'm giving back, making sure that I'm not taking any day, not taking any moment for granted. And when I put my head down on my pillow at night, knowing that I've given everything I possibly could to earn the gift. For me, I mean, I've been so incredibly fortunate, so incredibly lucky. I mean, just under 12 million people died in the United States alone between 2003 and 2011 when I was going through my cancer and heart failure journey of cancer and heart disease. I come out the other side of that, and I'm doing Ironman triathlon, and I have a kid. And so I know that I can never repay what I've been given. I can never earn what I've been given, but it's about trying. And that's what I wake up every day trying to do.
It's almost amazing how life, they say the old curveballs are thrown your way, but think about it. You had to go through cancer, chemotherapy, and a heart transplant to all of a sudden realize that, I've got to not take life for granted. Sometimes the lessons for some people are much bigger than they are for others. What's amazing too, you had to wait so long because, the oxygenated blood through your body was at about 18%, and a healthy person's at like 50, 60%. But as bad as that condition was, you couldn't get a heart until you were lower at 17%. So they put you on drugs and you had a pacemaker. What did they try to make you sicker?
No, they tried to make me better. They basically, Mike, at that point, they say, hey, listen, we're gonna help try and improve your diet. We're going to give you medications. We're going to try to get you more active. And we're going to try and get that oxygenation ratio in your blood higher. Now, there's no cure for what you have. And what you thought was going to be your life is not going to be what you thought it was. What you had planned for your future, you probably won't see. So if there's anything that you need to do to get right in this world, then you should do that now. Don't wait till tomorrow, because guys like you go like that.
But then you went through 7 years of heart failure before the transplant. That's crazy.
It's insane. But there are more people who need transplants than there are organs available. So the way the whole organ donation system works is that you have to be the worst of the worst in the worst condition to get a shot. And there's so many things that have to line up. The planets have to align, and we all have to go sometime. But you have to find that person who's a match for you, that fits with you, not just physically, but the size of the body. Everything has to line up to the point where everybody has that picture in their head of the doctor running with the little igloo, the cooler with the heart inside it. And they literally run that into the OR. Another team has opened up your chest, cracked your chest open to see if they open up the igloo. They look at your chest cavity to see if it's going to be a match. That's how close it has to get for them to say, yep, this is going to be this heart in this person. And if it's not a match, they can call it off while you're sedated while you're opened up and you wake up from that surgery and they go, sorry.
Wow. Let's back up a little bit because, and I want to talk about the mental aspect of what Derek Fitzgerald did mentally. You know, through your life, you bounce back after, you got fired from a job. You went through a divorce. You started a new family. You became a dad. You found success in businesses. You conquered the toughest single day event we have as Ironman. But you just don't do those things because you say you want to do them. What do you think was your biggest mental building block for you to be able to go through ups and downs for such a long period of time? Dude, how did you keep yourself mentally sane?
Well, I don't claim to be sane at all. But I also know that I've never been promised anything, and that includes tomorrow. So, my goal is to make the most of what I have today. And if that is, for a long time, that was struggling to breathe, fighting to stay alive. At my worst, I was sleeping for 23 hours a day, and my body was atrophying. So for me, it was, all right, I'm going to close my eyes. Hopefully I wake up, and if I wake up and I open my eyes, then I go, all right, I'm still here. I got another shot. And I mean, it's a metaphor that has just continued throughout my life is I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I still got a shot. And, there's a lot of people out there that kind of get caught up in, maybe they're great athletes and, they crash, they have a crash, they have an injury of some kind, and they keep comparing themselves to where they were in their best shape ever. For the month of January of 2011, I had completely atrophied. I had gone through the heart transplantation surgery, which is the equivalent of being hit by a Mack truck. I spent the month of January trying to lift my head an inch off of a pillow. Now if I could get my head up an inch off the pillow, that was victory for me. And the next day was, can I get a little higher than an inch? And then that was victory. So, I
found those mini finish lines. I mean, you went through more finish lines before you finished that first Ironman than most of us will ever think about.
Well, it's not about beating the best that you've ever been. It's about beating where you were the day before and just continuing to build off of those small victories.
I can't imagine that every time you opened your eyes, it was your realization that you were still among us. I mean, to go through that on a daily basis for such a long period of time, you have to be one of the toughest guys I know. I mean, because sometimes we wake up and we're bitching and moaning about the day and we haven't been up for 5 minutes, So it gives a perspective of don't bitch and moan. Don't bitch and moan.
You know what? The sad truth of the matter is that there are people out there that have it worse than you, that people have it worse than me. Whatever you've got going on in your world, there are people out there who have it worse. And I do a lot of speaking. I talk to a lot of folks, and I hear their stories. And one time I was asked by this young woman. She was in her early teens, and she asked me, "How do you keep going?" And originally, I thought she meant, "You mean like in an Ironman? How do you keep going?" She's like, "No, like, how do you keep living?" And it gets me every time I think about it. Because here was a girl who was suffering, worse off than me, who had been told time and time and time again that her life was not going to be, a long life for her was not going to be in the cards. and this young, beautiful person. And I looked at her and I said, listen, you know, you've got something going on with you physically. But what happens if, let's just say for the sake of argument, that you're told that you know that you have 24 hours left to live. That's it. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? And I said, are you going to go run up to your bedroom and close all the shades and turn off all the lights and pull the blankets up to your neck and say, that's it, I'm going to cry for the rest of my 24 hours? I said, no, you're not going to do that. Yeah, it's going to hit. It's going to hit hard. But you're going to recover, and you're going to realize that you only have 24 hours left. And you're going to get up, you're going to get out of bed, and you're going to go do everything you've ever wanted to do that you could possibly do within those 24 hours. And then for some reason, when you go to bed that night, you put your head on the pillow and you go, am I satisfied with what I did with my day? And for some reason, you go to sleep fully expecting not to wake up the next day. And for some reason, your eyes open the next day and you're still here. So you go, all right, well, what do I do now? Well, I've got 24 hours left to live. I'm going to do everything I can with that day. And then the same thing happens the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that. You are going to build an amazing life based upon how you fill up all those days. And it's how you make the most of those moments that defines a great life. For me, I'm living in a bonus round. Every day is a gift. You know, and you know, for me to be laying in bed in January of 2011, trying to lift my head off a pillow, completely atrophied, to think, hey, why don't I just go for an Ironman one day? Why not? What's the worst that you got to lose? You know, you give it a shot, you give it an effort, you give it a try. And, you know, if you don't make it, you know, it's not about that finish line. It's the journey all the way to it.
I love that. Well, you know what, talking about that and the events. So now you're getting back and, you know, you're on a lot of medication. You're trying to get yourself back in shape. Then you did your first 5K, wasn't it? Yeah, you did your first 5K. Went out there, walked and run. Was it euphoria or was it like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't drop over on this course? Or what was going through the body and the mind?
You know, everything I do, I'm just grateful to be there. I mean, you know, people joke and say, Derek, glad you're here. And I say, I'm grateful to be anywhere, you know, and so I get out on a 5K run. I'd never done a 5K prior to cancer, prior to heart failure, prior to transplant, 8 months post-heart transplant. And I ran it with my dad. And I finished in 44 minutes. He finished, you know, in an hour and a half or something, you know, and it wasn't an hour and a half, but I'll tease him every time I see him about it. But I was grateful to be outside, and I was grateful to be around other people who were active and healthy and doing all these amazing things. And I looked around me and I just admired what these people were doing, because they didn't have to go through cancer and a heart transplant to do what they were doing. They were much smarter than I was. They were taking care of themselves. And if there's anything that my story can lend to other people, it's we have one body. Most of us get one shot at life. I've been lucky enough to have 3. But I'm here to tell you, don't be a dummy like I was and neglect the vehicle that you're traveling around in. Take care of it.
Hold on, everyone. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsors. Even after 40 years on the microphone at thousands of events, welcoming hundreds of thousands of athletes to the finish lines, I am still in awe by the incredible endurance of each and every athlete and what you display. The physical exertion, the sweat, and the challenges you put your body through deserve a level of support that match your dedication. As the official medical supplier for the Ironman US Series, Curad Performance Series lineups of wraps, tapes, bandages, supports, and braces give you, the serious athlete and weekend warriors alike, the optimal support needed to keep moving. Including new far infrared kinesiology tape technology, which reduces energy made through body heat back to targeted areas to help you heal faster and enhance performance. So don't you let sprains and muscle pain hold you back. Recover smarter and shop the entire Curad Performance Series on Amazon. So I'm thinking of the 5K, Derek. You went 44 minutes. Did you pass anybody and go, hey, what's your problem? I died a couple of times and I got a used heart. What? I'm just thinking about you doing that.
What I saw a lot of people struggling out there, and I struggled. It was definitely a run walk for me. But I was grateful to be out there. I was happy to see the other people who were struggling out there that were still doing it. Mm-hmm. One foot in front of the other. They're going to get there. And so, I tell people, and I saw a great quote the other day, is that, most people never go far enough in their first wind to realize that they have a second wind. So, for me, I've been able to push beyond a lot of that first wind and realize that there is a second wind and realize that there's this whole world out there and a whole life that's possible if you take care of yourself and you value these moments that we're given and you value the people who are in your life that you love and care for.
I love that quote. We all should get to that second win. We find out, adversity introduces you to yourself. And I think that second wind is part of that adversity, So Lake Placid, 2013, you came onto that oval. I can remember telling the crowd this story. I'd read about your story not long before the event. It was still kind of mind-boggling to me. And they go, wait a minute. Went through cancer and chemo, and then the heart went bad, and oh my gosh. And here you came in at 16:14. I looked up your time. It came through the oval, and you were an Ironman. Were there other people in your life at that time that had doubts that you could even get halfway, get out of the water, anything like that?
I don't know. It really wasn't a discussion. I was laser focused. It was all about training and all about the race. I myself did not know if I'd get out of the water. And I remember, being so thankful because there was the dinner, the banquet before the race. And you were nice enough, and Ironman folks were nice enough to have me up on stage. You called me up, and I run up on stage, and you say, in case I don't get to say it later, Derek, you are an Ironman. And I was like, oh, thank God I heard him say it now, just in case, it doesn't happen for me at the end of race day. Because, that was mind-blowing to me. And then I remember, because Placid's a 2-loop swim, and I remember getting out of the water and running back up onto the shore after the first loop. And you caught me coming out of the water, and you raised my hand over my head like I had just won a championship boxing fight or whatever. And you're like, Derek Fitzgerald, you will be an Ironman. I'm like, oh, I got to hear it again. Who knows if I'll make it past the second lap of the swim. So, I've got it made. But I'm stubborn Irish, and so even if I am the slowest person out there, I'm going to put my head down and keep going. And really, I had some friends who were cheering me on during the run on that night as it was getting darker and darker, and they're like, Derek, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. I mean, there's never been a cancer-surviving heart transplant to finish a full, and I can't claim to be the first one until I actually cross that line. And then I did, and so it was great to see you and hear it for the third time on my first time out.
Well, you mentioned, you weren't that fast, but keep in mind, you're much faster than anybody who doesn't start. That's what I always tell everybody. Don't tell me how slow you are, because there's a lot of people that don't get to the start line, and you're a lot faster than they are. And then, Derek Fitzgerald, you've got 6 Ironmans under your belt now. You do Kona in what, 2015, and coming in the granddaddy of them all. Raised a lot of money. I mean, you know, it's amazing to me that your journey has taken a lot of other people on a new journey, and that has to be inspiring to you. Whether you want to or not, you're an inspiration, and I think you know you are. But other people all of a sudden turn their lives around because they talk to and hear about Derek Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I do get the messages, and I do get the, you know, there's a lot of people who, after Kona, and a lot of people saw that, or after I did Placid, and I was fortunate enough to get featured on there, I became the guy at every following Ironman that I went to. I became the guy that no one recognized where they knew me, but they recognized my face, and they're like, have we ridden together? Like, have we done a group ride together? I'm like, yeah, probably. Where are you from? You know, Timbuktu? Yeah, that's probably me. And I don't like to get into the whole, you know, story while people are just trying to shop for socks at the expo. But yeah, no, there are people who have found me on Facebook or found me on social media, and they reach out and they say, you know what, it's because of you that I did my first Ironman, or it's because of you that I did my first 5K, or it's, you know, I wasn't going to get a heart transplant. I was going to decline the surgery, and I wasn't going to go on the list. But I heard your story. I got my transplant, and I just did my first sprint triathlon.
People have told you they weren't going to get the transplant for whatever reason, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've got a good buddy now who lives down near Tampa, and yeah, I got a call from his significant other, and she said, I competed with you at St. Anthony's, and I competed with you at the 70.3 in Florida, and my partner has been told that he's going to go on the transplant waiting list, but he doesn't know whether he wants to do it or not. Would you be willing to talk to him?
Wow.
And of course, I talked to him, and you know what? He's active. He's happy. He's healthy. He's an amazing guy, and he's here, you know, because he said yes, because he changed his mind, because he gave it that he allowed the opportunity to happen. It's a brave decision, and I commend him for making it. There's too many of us that decide not to give it a shot. There's a lot of hope. Yeah, it is. I won't say the word, but it plays with you mentally, because as a transplant, someone who gets on the transplant waiting list, you have to hope to get as bad as you possibly can be in order to have any hope at a future life. And when you get to that point, it's an extremely inverted mindset, where you start seeing previews for movies that are coming out in 3 months, and you're like, oh, I'm never going to see that.
Oh my God.
You know? And so to allow hope for a future in your mind, and to say, yes, I'm going to allow hope that I can get as bad as I can get, for the opportunity that I survive the transplantation procedure, for the opportunity that I get the smallest sliver of shot at life. And I'm going to allow that.
It's like running a race, and you'd have to run backwards for half of it before you can go forward again. You can't even, you know, mentally, how do you imagine that? I mean, nobody really does. But in life, like you did, that's what you had to do. I got a question for you. How, you know, all through COVID, the last 14 months, was there any issues where you were worried about, you know, your immune system, or you taking a hit because of COVID, and, you know, you're on a lot of medications, and were you worried about that, or did you sequester yourself?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been sequestered, but I am immunosuppressed. I have to take immunosuppressants every 12 hours so
Wow.
that my body doesn't recognize this foreign thing in my body, that my body doesn't recognize this foreign heart and start attacking it. So, people joke that with transplants, if we lean up against a wall where somebody was near it and sneezed, we're going to catch whatever they had. But I did walk around with a mask prior to COVID. And I did, if someone did have the sniffles that I was going to go hang out with at their home, or they were planning on coming over here, they had to say, "Hey, Derek, I've got a cold. I probably shouldn't come by." So the world that everybody lived with COVID is the world that I've been living since January 3rd, 2011.
Oh, just think that kind of puts it into perspective, young man. The other thing that you said, which has to be something you think about every day, because it is every day. It says you live every day like your donor is watching you. You know how they say, if you want to be a great human, do things as if people are watching you. But yours goes way beyond that. One, I know people are wondering about it. Do you know who your donor was?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't know. I've written 2 letters to my donor family. I know they go through intermediary channels. I know that they received them. The first one was to thank them for my life. The second one was to thank them for my life, thank them for the life of my daughter, who was born after my transplant.
Mm-hmm.
And then I in that second one, I sent them my medal from Kona. And I said, "I know this probably doesn't mean much to you, but there's only one in the world like this, and it's the least I can do." So,
wow, you sent them your Kona medal. Did you get a response after that?
no.
No, speaking of your daughter, as I said earlier, just finishing what you started is the best lesson we can teach ourselves, but also one of the best lessons we can teach our kids. What do you want her to? She thinks you're just the regular dad and all that good stuff, but what would you really like to leave for her so that she, 40 years from now, my dad told me this and it's true?
I just want her to have an appreciation for life. I want her to know that there are doctors and nurses and friends and loved ones that went out of their way to make it possible for me to survive in order to give her a chance at even being a glimmer in my eye. And so that there's the likelihood that she was going to be born is like less than that.
Yeah.
And she's a walking miracle. She's a legacy of my donor's gift that just keeps giving every day to me, to her, and to realize that there are going to be things in life that do not go her way, but it's up to her to work through those things and to make the best of that she can with them.
Well, your donor is watching, and I know your donor is smiling. That's just amazing. Hey, tell us about your 24-hour on the bike. Okay, it's coming up the end of May for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. What's that all about?
Okay, so it's called the 156/24 Challenge. And I'll back up by saying that part of this effort of earning the gift is giving back to in as many ways and as often as I possibly can. So the 156/24 Challenge, 156 represents the number of people in the United States who die every day from blood cancers, 24 being 24 hours in the day. And so I got it in my crazy, gluttonous, masochistic brain that I should ride for 24 hours straight. And in honor of the people who have made it, of our survivors, and in memory of the people who haven't. And so I'm going to try and it's for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Every penny raised goes to them. I'm going to do a broadcast on May 22nd, May 23rd, just as social proof. But I'm going to watching me ride my bike on a trainer for 24 hours is going to be boring as mud. So I'm going to be, before that day, I'm going to be interviewing cancer survivors, cancer champions, and talking about their stories, because it's not about me. It's about everybody else. And so, the goal is to show, as much positivity and success and triumph over cancer as we can over that 24-hour period of time. And I'm asking people to join me. I'm asking people to create their own teams. They don't have to ride for 24 hours straight like me, but if they want to have 8 people that ride for 3 hours each, then fantastic. And so whatever that breakdown is, they can join me, they can watch, they can call in, they can be on the show, and we'll make a day of it.
Well, in a minute, we'll tell everybody where they come to watch that. But are you riding all inside? Are you doing combo inside, outside? What are you doing?
Well, because I'm doing a broadcast, I'm going to be doing it inside.
Okay.
It's going to be easier to have cameras and microphones, and if I'm interviewing people, so I'll be on the Peloton here, and just making the most of it.
I love it. I love it. Derek, the final question on Find Your Finish Line. This section is titled Tri-Table Racing. Sitting around the tri-table after the event, reminiscing about the race. You know how we all do. Hey, what about you? Did you get up that hill? Did that guy pass you? I mean, everybody's always BSing about the race. So tri-table racing. Give us your best memory from your last race.
Best memory from my last race.
Or any race, whatever memory. We're sitting around the table. You can tell us, anything you want. We believe it.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you a little story. It comes from Kona, and I was aware of this gentleman before I got there. He had done, 24, 25 attempts at Kona. He was an older guy. He goes by Iron Lou Hollander. And I had just finished coming back from Hawaii and about to make the right back on the Queen K. And Lou was on my tail, and he starts talking to me. And he's like, I don't suppose you can go any faster. And I'm like, Lou.
And Lou's, by the way, everybody, Lou's in his 80s, right? I mean, he's in his 80s.
Yeah, Lou's in his 80s. I'm like, Lou, if you want to pass me, feel free, buddy. I mean, go ahead. There's not too many people out here with us. And he's like, well, we're going up this hill, and this is a tough hill, and I've done this race before. I don't know if you know if I've done this race before. I was like, yeah, Lou, I know you've done the race before. and so he's like, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up to this one part, and then I'm going to walk the rest of the way up the hill. And I'm like, Lou, you do you, buddy. I'm going to just put my head down and keep cranking the pedals. And I hear him stop. I hear him pull over. I got my head down. I'm cranking. And next thing you know, I get to the top of the hill. And then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, Lou just smokes me. Smokes me to the point, it's a long straightaway, but drops me to the point where I can no longer see him.
I love it.
And I thought about that, and when they talk about who can do an Ironman, Ironman, yeah, there are freaks of nature out there that can do an Ironman in 3.5 hours, and they call it a day, but maybe 7 hours, because they're just amazing physical specimens. But for everybody who's not a physical specimen, Ironman is 75% inspiration, 2% physical ability, and 3,000% mental attitude and just mindset. And Lou proved that to me that day. Luckily I was able to catch up to Lou on the run because he smoked me bad on the bike, and I caught up to him on the run, and we ran for a couple miles side by side, and I just got a little bit of that perspective from him, and it proved to me that anything's possible, man, and it's just having the right mindset and being willing to follow through on making it happen.
Well, Derek, thank you very much for your time, and you do have the right mindset, and maybe that's what it's all about. You know, you create that mindset for yourself and keep it positive, and you keep getting to those finish lines every day of your life, and you've done that. So, by the way, Derek, so how can people follow you in the 24 hours or get a hold of you? Give us the information with that and social media.
They can hit me on my website or on Facebook. Both of them are the same, or Instagram even, recycledmanspeaks.com. So if you go to recycledmanspeaks.com, you can donate to the cause. You can join me on the ride, and you can do the same thing off of Recycled Man Speaks Facebook or Instagram.
All right, fantastic, everybody. There it is for Derek. Hopefully, you can be a part of his Recycled Man Speaks. And his story, it is inspirational. Thanks a lot, buddy. Well,
thanks,
hey, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us on Find Your Finish Line, presented by Curad Performance Series, the official medical supplier of Ironman. By the way, if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to become notified of upcoming shows. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or right from my website at mikeriley.net. Everybody, I can't wait to see you at the events and yell at you when you come across that line. As always, my warmest aloha.